In this video, we're going to talk about the facts and everything that you need to know about the Hydrowave, when it does work and when it does not work. We're going to unbox it and install it on the boat, and courtesy of tournamentboats.com.au, we're also going to give one away. Let's get into it. So we're talking all things Hydrowave by TH Marine. Now today we're really going to break this video down into three things. The first, I'm going to talk about my experience of using this product for around about 3 years now. I've seen it do some pretty amazing and special things that I'll talk about in the video, but also learned that it's got some limitations, and if I don't understand those, well then I'm not going to get the maximum capability out of the product. So there's a couple of tips in here that might help you with avoiding those pitfalls. The second thing we're going to do is talk about exactly why the product works. There's a bit of an evolution here in terms of the fisherman's toolbox. Then thirdly, we're going to look at unboxing and installing this particular product onto my Phoenix 618 bass boat. How I hooked it up to the power, where I mounted the head units, and how I've got the cables running. It's really quite a simple process, but it's worth talking about. Lastly, like I mentioned in the start intro, we are giving away a $799 TH Marine version 2 Australian edition of the Hydrowave, the one that we're going to be reviewing in this video. It's up for grabs. It'll be somewhere in this video. A big shout out to tournamentboats.com.au and Steve Morgan for making this possible. Let's check this thing out. At the start, I've been using the Hydrowave for a number of years now, and originally I actually found it in the bottom of an office floor at Hunter Water Sports. A friend of mine, Jimmy, wasn't using it. I tried to figure out what it was, and he said give it a go. So I did. I ran it on the kayak for a number of years, and to be honest, I'm a real advocate of that. I'll talk about why exactly and how the Hydrowave works in a moment. It'll kind of be self-explanatory after that about why it's been good and why I've had the experiences that I've had. But I've been sitting next to people before that have had no fish on a tournament day. I've gone, hey, let's turn this thing on, and then 5 minutes later they've got their full bag and we're looking at upgrading. But there's been a bunch of permutations. The thing that I really, I guess, have noticed the most about the Hydrowave is not necessarily turning fish on, and I know that's one of the things that the product does sometimes claim to do, turn fish on that might not be biting. For me, it's always been about holding fish in the area. So typically casting out, catching one fish, and then the rest of the school might scatter and you won't get any more of those, and you'll have to come back to the school later on, 2 or 3 hours later if you want your second fish. That's basically where the Hydrowave has worked the most for me. I've had the Hydrowave on, I've been able to mask my presence and the fight of that initial fish, and then I've gone in and then grabbed a couple more. That's really where I personally think the Hydrowave really shines. The ability for you to keep fish there, for them not to scatter or run away from this particular bite. Now, those experiences have not happened to me on every single trip. It's not something that I will turn on that will guarantee you fish. It's like having scent, I guess, on your lure. It's just one more of those 1%ers that would help you catch fish. Although, when I think about it, it's probably more than 1% that it adds to my toolbox in particular. Now, so much so that when my wife and I, when we bought our boat, I was sitting down with her and we were talking about the first thing that we needed to get for the boat. The first thing was the ability to stay stationary, to pole down or hit spot lock on the electric and stay exactly where we were to fish. The electric that came with the boat was a old Motor Guide to a 36 volt thing, so it didn't have the ability for me to lock in. So I got one of those. I actually got two of them, two Minn Kota Raptors. That's one of them sitting there at the moment because I'm just testing one for the moment. The second one will go on in a minute, but that was the first thing that I thought the boat needed, the ability to stay still. Straight after that, I said to the wife, we need to put a Hydrowave on there. And I was lucky enough that she went out and got me one for Christmas. So I had a great little Christmas present, and this is it here. Now we're not going to get too complex here on radar theory, how radar works. I thought about going into depth there to explain how the Hydrowave works, but get a basic understanding of this stuff here and you'll understand how and why the Hydrowave works. I guess if we consider where we started with all of this and you consider, those first models of radar back in World War II, that would really equate to the first kind of type of sounders that we ended up, or that we started with on the fishing scene. We didn't really get much color, we didn't get much detail, but we kind of knew something was out there. Eventually we learned to allocate colors with the solidness of a return, and our sounders and graphs started coming up with little different colors on the bottom for us. Hard bottom layers, soft bottom layers, bits that look like bottom layers with weed. We actually go a few steps further here as well, and then we're at where we are now. We developed a way to track fish. Now we have Active Track, we have the Mega Live by Humminbird, and the Live Scope by Garmin. And here we are at the Hydrowave. This is our fishing kind of space where we're able to send out signal to manipulate or affect fish in a certain way. The Hydrowave can be used to mask your presence. So we're talking the noise from your electric motor, the 4 to 6 live well pumps that you may or may not have on your boat, as well as the trim going up, the trim going down, the wave bow slap, or any other noises that your boat might produce. If you get the loudness right, you'll be able to mask your presence so the fish don't even know that you're there. So for us as fishermen, we're looking to change the behavior of the fish that we are targeting. That's the second way that the Hydrowave works. Whether that is a passive fish to make them more awake and look around to see what's going on, maybe then they see your bait. If a fish is hunting already, it might just get more aggressive, get that adrenaline moving, it might start to hunt more actively. And thirdly, those fish that would usually spook, the ones that are on edge, running around looking for danger, looking to run away, might just be a little bit more calm. They might be easy to convince to eat, for example. Matching that reaction though is, I guess, a bit of a tricky part. And these Hydrowaves, the full up edition, the one that we're talking about today, has 14 Australian sounds that have been recorded on it, from bony brim to buffing barra to surface brim, prawns and shrimp. There's some mullet in there as well. And all those sounds have been recorded in Australia for Australian conditions. So before we get into the giveaway, what does all of that mean? The so what in all of this? The first is your ability to mask your presence. I talked about drowning out the sounds of all those different components on your boat before, but you need to be tactful when you're doing it. So if you are pumping out unnatural sounds at a really large volume, well then you're probably going to scare the fish as well. You want to be as low as you need to be, but higher than the minimum volume of your boat. If you're rolling around on a low volume, for example on the Hydrowave, but you're skirting around on the electric motor at setting 9, well, that's really not going to work for you. Just like choosing the right volume masks your presence, choosing the right sounds elicits the right response. So I, for example, in winter would not be choosing the surface brim sound to be playing when clearly there's no brim surface action going on. Likewise, if shrimp aren't running and it's a minnow bait fish type run and that is the food of the day, well then playing shrimp is probably not going to work for you too well. I mean, sure, it might work, but if you take the concept of matching the hatch, something a little bit more passive in those scenarios might work better for you. And I guess that is the biggest limitation of this product. It's not a set and forget type of product. If I'm using that product on the shrimp and shrimp are nowhere in the system, the product does nothing for me. The larger product, the one that I'm going to install in a minute, has got a bunch of more options on there that'll help me out when I need it, but it's only as good as the settings that you set it up for. Now that might be kind of obvious, so spend the time. If you see prawns jumping or bait fish over there or brim hitting the surface, or there's a bunch of mullet around and you're looking for jewfish, well then spend the 5 seconds setting the volume up and get the right sound on there. So a big thank you goes to Steve Morgan from tournamentboats.com.au for getting behind the channel and this video and helping us give away a TH Marine Australian edition of the Hydrowave, valued at $799. Aside from the secondhand boat market that is available on his website, there's a bunch of different products that Morgo personally has imported from the US and is selling on there. There's a bit of a gap in the market, so there's some stuff that he's got on there that you generally can't find elsewhere. Those include the Hydrowave, the Yolotech power sticks that I've got on my boat, and I'll talk about those in a bit, as well as some Kong soundograph mounts that some guys run at the front of their boat. I'm going to take a sidetrack here, but I'm a big fan of those Yolotech power sticks. I just got off the water over the weekend, and for the first time I didn't have to change a action cam battery at all. The two different cameras that I was running, GoPro being one of them, typically I'd run through 6 batteries in a day. I didn't have to change batteries once. It was bloody life-changing from a content creator's perspective. It was awesome, so I can't recommend that product more. Why am I mentioning the website? Well, basically 2 reasons. First, he's helping out with the giveaway, obviously, but second, for viewers of this channel and this video, if you use this code here, you can take $50 off the inshore Hydrowave or the Australian version off your purchase. So $50 credit towards that, a bit of discount for being a channel viewer. How awesome is that? I said it in the last video, but if you support the people that support this channel and we all get together, well, you're gonna see more discounts and variations and giveaways. So thanks very much, Morgo. Back to the Hydrowave. Now, to win the Hydrowave, you're going to need to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and then comment below on what you think my personal favorite sound is. Doesn't matter if you're wrong or right, you just need to give it a go. In 1 week today, I'll be announcing the winner using that random wheel generator that I always do, and it'll go into the comments below or on my social media websites. So get involved and good luck. So this is what you get in the box. When you open it up, you'll see the speaker, the head unit, bunch of instructions there, and some cable ties that are going to help you secure. I'll get to those cable ties in a minute, but I'm not a giant fan of those. Now, the first thing you're going to need to appreciate as you're watching this is that my boat is very much a project boat where things will end up, in particular this head unit and how things are tied in, will not be how they are tied in forever. Expect I'll go through a bunch of brands on my boat and try a number of different things out and bring those brands and those products to you guys. Ultimately though, where I put the head unit, I want to be able to access the Hydrowave. I don't need quick access to it. It's not something that I need to stomp and change straight away, but options include the floor or to the side. Basic under their unit as well might be an option there, but I really want to afford it some protection from the salt and weather. So I've gone for the area here. Now, I've mounted this cover right here to mask a giant hole that's currently in the shroud. I'm going to change that with a reinforced hard plastic / reinforced kind of plate in time. But for the moment, that old sounder cover is going to be exactly where I put the Hydrowave and where it will stay for the moment. After you've worked out where your head unit is going to go, the next thing you want to do is work out and mount your speaker. Now, you don't want to connect anything up at the moment, no electrics or anything, because you still need to rewire or wire through those electric cables. So I'll start with the speaker down on my electric motor. The instructions say you can mount it on the bottom, the top, the side. I guess the key point only here is that you mount the speaker facing outward or pointing at the fish as opposed to pointing at your boat and in the reverse direction. That'd be a bit of a fail. I like the idea of having something on top as opposed to underneath, because underneath might be where I put my transducer and where I will be putting my new transducer. So as I tighten these up and secure them, my critique of these cable ties that came with the pack are that they're not good enough. I tied both on and then I went and noticed some movement. I just wasn't really happy with the overall connection. So I went back to the old clamp screw wire thing. I guess there's a technical name for it, but I don't know it. But one of these things, and I ripped that off the old transducer just prior to this video. Now I'm sticking it back on here. Now, I'm not the only one that's done this. I think Morgo did it when he installed his, and I've seen a bunch of guys use this type of connection. I certainly wouldn't be risking chopping it off with propeller blades. I'd definitely be making sure my connection here was quite secure and nice. So after I secured that, I ran the cable up through the motor guide and I fed it through where you'd expect it to feed through. Then I split my power line in my dash with a Deutsch plug and I tapped the ends with dielectric grease because I really don't like salt water and I don't like taking any risks. I know there's a few different ways to rig this. You could have rigged it in line or parallel or in series, whatever combinations you can think of, but I wanted to rig this in a way that meant that my sounder could be on independently of the Hydrowave and vice versa. So whatever the method you choose to rig power to your unit, just make a couple of considerations and make sure that whatever method is salt waterproof. Feel free to attack me in the comments if you think there's a better way to set this up. And like I said earlier, this is a bit of a project boat, so I'm going to figure some stuff out. If this isn't the best way that I should be rigging this, well then, make some suggestions below in a constructive way. After that, I checked the circuit, went back, switched the power on, and made sure everything was fine before I wired it all in and zip tied everything up. I did need a couple of extra zip ties compared to what was in the pack that came with it, but that's really no big deal. I screwed everything back in place, and I've got to say, I was actually really happy with how easy it was to install. It was really quite a non-event and everything at the back side of it was nice and clean. Broadly speaking, if you're looking at a Hydrowave as a tool that you can use to increase your catch or fish rate, so to speak, it's really one that you should be using. I like to think of it like how people would have thought about scent when scent first came out. Yep, it was good, we knew that it caught fish, we didn't know how to really put it into words, but as time moved on, our confidence and trust grew with the idea of adding scent, smell, or a little bit of factor of some sort to your bait. It's my opinion that the Hydrowave is a little bit like that. We're at a stage here where it's new to the market, people are starting to say, yep, it works, it's good to go. We don't really have that unified market confidence. Not everybody is convinced yet, partly because it's a little bit expensive, but in my opinion, it's worth the money. Remember, whilst the channel might be giving one away, I still paid for my wife paid for my Hydrowave. I really love the thing. It is a tool though that can be used incorrectly, so remember the correct volume levels and the correct sounds to elicit the correct reaction out of a fish that you're looking for. Sometimes blaring music and sounds quite deep will work for you, but a lot of the times it might be that passive, sort of subtle ambient noise that gets you the natural reaction. Lastly, before I go, remember the giveaway that we've got going on and the discount code if you are looking for a Hydrowave in the future from that tournamentboats.com.au. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay safe. I'll see you next time.